Thank you for watching Hack the File. I'm Michael Lopez, and on today's episode, we're going to be doing video 2 on the ethical password cracking. Enjoy.
Just don't trust them, folks. Don't do
All
anything
right,
they
we're
say
back.
because none of us are
Oh
perfect.
my gosh. I know I let you guys hang for a little bit, but
Autism, it's
man, I
not
was
all
busy.
diagnosed.
Um,
Don't have
I
doctors
was
to
real
say it's
busy creating lectures and
smokers. It's all illegal.
content and all kinds of stuff for my new
All the
job
websites, wake
teaching.
up to
So
yourselves. Wake up.
I was really
Wake up to
burnt out and
yourselves.
busy. But
All the police,
now
military.
I'm done.
Quit.
I get the summer
Just
off
quit.
and
Every one of you. Just quit.
I created all my
Quit
content. I'm going to work on some projects, but I think I'm going to
Stop
focus on
doing
stuff that I
illegal
want to learn,
criminal
which
offences.
is my channel.
Stop doing it.
Um,
Otherwise, the connection you have to everybody else will go.
got a few new books
Where's the ego to fight
just
crime?
for the school
What the hell are you
that
doing?
I'm teaching
You're
at,
doing it with no
and
training. I'm telling
you
you,
know, like
you're
PLC
wasting your time.
programming and
You're wasting your
cybersecurity
time.
for industrial
This is an
controls.
experimental drug.
I might be going through some of these
Find out
industrial
what it is.
controls cybersecurity
Most
books.
people in America are idiots.
Um,
What,
it's just
experts? Of
another
course.
it's just another area of cybersecurity. So, hey, well, I mean, there's many words for it. They can call it physical systems or whatever, but I don't understand calling it physical systems. To me, that makes no sense because um, it's all physical systems, right? Yeah, I guess because you're protecting robots and HMIs and PLCs and stuff, and then I guess regular um, hacking is just data and stuff. But all that data is on physical systems, like a physical server and stuff. So it's kind of confusing. So I just call it ICS, right? Industrial Control Systems for so cybersecurity in the ICS environment, right? So, but anyways, we're gonna do some password cracking today. Um, so let's open this book, and I think the first video I I left off with chapter 2. All right, so let's just jump in this and get it going. All right, why crack? Why crack when OSINT will do? Okay, if you guys don't know what OSINT is, it's an open source intelligence. Okay, and it's just basically anything that you can, any information you can grab online, right? That's free and not illegal, right? It's all legal. Okay, while the focus of this book is on password cracking, the recovery of plain text credentials given their scrambled and unreadable, be it hashed, encrypted, or otherwise, content, we do face challenges along the way. In some cases, password scrambling algorithms may be too time consuming to recover plain text form, and in others, we may exhaust our possible guesses and still not discover a password. In these situations, there might be an easier alternative, leveraging our own public resources and determine
It's true.
more about the subject,
Wake up to yourself.
and use this to either discover previously used passwords
That's
or
it.
gain information about potential passwords our clients or targets might use for future password cracking operations. The use of publicly available sources for information gathering is also known as open source intelligence, or OSINT, and we will leverage these sources to try and simplify our work. In this chapter, we're going to cover the following main topics. How does OSINT help with password cracking? Leveraging OSINT to access compromised passwords. Using OSINT to obtain candidates. Password candidates. How does OSINT help with password cracking? Okay. Uh, Open source intelligence. I mean, they should just use OSINT now. I mean, when I already used the damn thing. Is the craft of obtaining information from publicly accessible sources. While this may sound very straightforward, OSINT constitutes a vast body of tools for finding out information about a person, company, or a subject of interest. We use this capability to reduce the time and complexity of password cracking in certain situations. How so? You may recall that we talked about the idea of password reuse in the last chapter. In some scenarios, especially where we require users of the system to create passwords that are too complex to remember, or we require them to rotate these passwords too often, users may cheat the system by using the same password for many different systems. As example, a user might choose a password that is complex but can be remembered and set up the same password for several systems, for example, websites, and then use this solution happily for some time. So I know everybody does this. Everybody does this. Every average human being does this. You can't remember really long, complex numbers, so you use an easy one and use the same one. Or you use the same one for your bank, your email, and this and that. Okay, you got to stop doing that. Now, the first time you think about doing that, you're like, oh, there's no way I'll forget it. But you need to have some kind of system in place to where it's changed slightly or it's changed a lot. Okay. But you need to figure out which one because you can't have the same password for everything. Okay. Unfortunately, the problem with this approach is that websites, along with other systems, are often compromised by various reasons. When this happens, passwords or password hashes associated with the users can be removed from the environment or exfiltrated and sold to others or released publicly. Once released publicly, various parties may try to recover the passwords from these information dumps, resulting in large public tranches of passwords. In some cases, these passwords are associated with a username, such as an email address. In these cases, if the user is reusing passwords across systems, our job of determining their password may be much easier thanks to the public information. Remembering the RockU breach from previous chapter, this is a great example of breaches whose data has been of great use for password cracking in the years since the breach. But if a newer batch exposed a password and user, and then and they use the same password on their systems, it may now become trivial to recover that user's password without cracking. We continue to revisit the concepts of password reuse, and it is an important one because many users engage in password reuse, and it is even possible that you or your family members have engaged in password reuse at some point. I mean, that's literally what I just said. Perhaps for less important systems that you do not often use. As a result, we know where to look. We can find information on these previously stolen credentials and try them before we engage in more consuming cracking operations. Let's start by looking for the known previously compromised passwords. Leveraging OSINT to access compromised passwords. We need to start this discussion with an important set of caveats about operational security, OPSEC. So many stupid acronyms. It's not even funny in this field. The idea behind OPSEC, like anybody's gonna remember that. It's just ridiculous. Is to ensure you to avoid the compromise of your personal information or information related to your system when engaging in work online. This section will involve accessing resources on the internet that may be sketchy in some cases. There are things you can and should do to mitigate the risk of using these kinds of content. And while this section will not cover the exhaustive detail, it will mention key controls you should consider utilizing. However, you and only you are responsible for the security of your own system. Really? Many individuals will have many different opinions on this topic, and they all have some validity. Your individual position and risk model may be different. However, once you go beyond some typical internet-facing sites such as haveibeenpawned.com, you need to consider what protections you will leverage to secure your environment. You are working in from the potential hazards of the area of the website you visit. The following are just some of the precautions you should consider before moving forward further along in this journey. Avoid doing this kind of work on a computer system you use for a normal job. They may contain monitoring enhancements and filtering that can complicate this kind of work, as well as potential arouse suspicion from your employer. If you're not performing this work on behalf of your employer, you should not use their machine at all. Consider using a virtual machine, to perform all your browsing and data access work for this objective. This will limit the potential for your host machine to be impacted if you run into malicious content. If you do not have virtualization software, consider free software such as Oracle VirtualBox. That's what we're using, paired with free operating systems such as one of the various Linux distributions. That's what we're doing. Use a VPN to conceal your internet activity. This can help protect you from being attacked or tracked, and also prevent your internet service provider (ISP) from interfering with your search if you're utilizing websites they consider risky or inappropriate. If you use a VPN, consider a paid solution that does not log your activity, or at least supports not to do so. What? Per Purports. Man, well, I don't even know what the hell that means. Purports. Also, when using a VPN, consider a different browser from the ones you use for formal internet activity. For example, if you normally use Firefox, consider using Brave or another browser. Consider using the Onion router or Tor to achieve some of the same objectives as a VPN solution above. The Tor browser can assist you with this work. Use caution when downloading assets such as files. Now, this is really important right here. You can get a malicious file because hackers know that or I would say hackers, but I would say evil corp, evil corporations like hacking organizations or whatever. They know you're gonna be using like Google Dorks and all that crap, so they're setting you up with malicious files and stuff. Okay, everything you download, at least one is possible, and possibly several anti-malware products before opening. So just don't. I wouldn't download anything, man. It's just my precaution, unless you're really on a hunt for Red October. If you're if you're like really, getting down and dirty, and you're doing something that you need to be doing some vital research, spear fishing or whatever, then I would be careful, right, and have it scanned before you download it. But you know, you're playing with fire at your own risk. Okay, use minimal rights on the system you use to access these sites and data, and avoid using the machine VM with admin root privileges. Be prepared to access this data with command line tools, as many of these files will be large and graphical interface tools will likely struggle with their size. Some of the searches you attempt and the resources you may access and contain data and objectable to others. Perform this work in a secluded area, not in a cubicle work. Oh, what the hell is all this? I don't understand this. You mind your own damn business where I do my work. Okay? Just mind your own damn business. Finally, oh yeah, I forgot this is ethical password cracking. I forgot. It says ethical on there. All right. Finally, understand the laws of your city, state, country, and respect the working with hacked data. How is that ethical if it's hacked? Much of this chapter focuses on obtaining information on a person's password via means other than cracking. However, if you obtain the information, check with local laws, policies in advance. It is related. And to ensure that you're not violating laws or any organizational policies by searching or downloading breach data. Remember, there are ethical and non-ethical ways to perform this work. And the only one of these approaches is supported by this book. Oh Lord, help me. So, I mean, it's such a gray area, but they're making it seem like you're gonna go download like another. You're gonna discover another RockU file or something. Help me, Lord. The first resource we can check for indications of password compromise is one you might have checked personally in the past. Have I been pawned? Yeah, God. Available online at haveibeenpawned.com, and we're going to click on this. And what you do is you enter in your email address right here, or what else do you do? Your email address, or any kind of like. I think it's just only check your email address. Yeah, so you put your email address in there to see if it's been breached, right? And I'm not gonna do it because I've already done it, and mine has. So when you do that, it'll tell you if you've been hacked, right? And or if you've been in some kind of data breach, and then you go in and you just change your password. But you got to change your password. Um, every quarterly, I would say on your email, because or check that thing, and then if it's what do you call it, being pawned, then yeah, come on, man, help me, Lord. Where's my book? Okay, so yeah, so um, that's how that works. Okay, I Have Been Pawned was created by Troy Hunt as a way of users to see whether the email address or phone number, both commonly used and usernames on the system, have been found in known breaches. The data in Have I Been Pawned. Now this is the key right here. Okay, Have I Been Pawned comes from various sources on the internet, may not be accessible to the general public when appropriate. This data is pulled into the Have I Been Pawned. Now, here's the facts of life. I mean, the facts of life. Um, you need to know where your information comes from, okay, and then that has to do with even threat and information, right? So you know, I just want to explain this, but I want to explain it fast. I don't want to go to no deep crap. But um, all this information out here was created by somebody or something. Okay, you if you're looking up, sites like this or anything, right? And you think, okay, I put it in here and it hasn't been compromised. I don't need to change my password. I'm good. You would probably be wrong, because these websites are gathering information from it literally says right here, from sources of the internet. They may not be accessible to the general public, but they may not have your information on there. Somebody could have compromised your email and nobody knows about it. What I'm saying? Hey, you're not even you. So that's ridiculous. I would say, they're making it seem like you could check this. You're gonna check this site, and if it's not, you're good. You're golden, and that's not true. I would say change your email password every 6 months, man. Just change it. Change it. Keep it the same strength, right? But just change it. Change it a little bit, because somebody could have it, and if you change it every once quarterly or something, or once a year, even once a year, change that bad boy. I changed mine. I'm not gonna tell you when I changed mine, but I changed mine enough. Okay, but see, I'm paranoid though. All right. From here, we can enter an email address of interest. Bear in mind the email addresses are used as usernames on many different websites, so the compromise of an account associated with this email address may be of interest to us if we obtain the password, right? After entering the email address, press pawned. Oh no! Pawn, 9 data breaches. Found 2 pastes, right? This will pop out if it has been pawned. You will note that the information returned about the data breaches and is pasted in the hyperlink. You will also scroll down on the page and get information about them. Every breach will be different, and the site offers you information about the breach, as well as how to access the data from the breach if possible. So this is pretty cool if you want to get some compromised email addresses and passwords, right? In some cases, the links to the breach data might have expired. Have I Been Pawned does not maintain passwords content itself for ethical reasons. Use caution when accessing breach data from links from I have been pawned. Not all internet sites are safe, so consider performing the kind of work in a virtual machine isolated from your host operating system. This data also shows the importance of using different passwords for different sites, a technique we will discuss in more detail at the end of the book. Also, we can note that many of these breaches contain other personal data such as password hints, that indicate users' hobbies, families, etc. These pieces of information can be harmful when building a word list specific to the particular user or organization as well, especially if we're unsuccessful obtaining the plain text word. Our next stop after using have been pawned to ensure the subject may have already experienced a breach is dehashed. Look at this one. Dehashed. Take your data security to the next level. Dehashed. I'm actually going to save this. Elevate your data security. Dehashed. What? You pay by the hash? Alright, this site maintains records of dhash.com. I don't think that's the right one. It is. This site maintains records of many compromised assets, and unlike Have I Been Pawned, it also supports searching on many additional fields beyond email and phone number. As we can see in Figure 2.4, the interface looks like many websites with significant information readily accessible. Man, that doesn't take your personal security to the next level. Man, they updated this sucker. Creation of an account dehash is free through accessing detailed search results, and the API or Whois records, DNS registrations, does require a subscription plan or use of credit you can purchase. Using the field's drop down menu, we can see several options under which to search. All fields, email, username, IP, name, addresses, yada yada yada. In my case, using the same email address entered in Have I Been Pawned yielded a few more results, see Figure 2.6, but possibly most interesting was the one result returned an older actual password from the breach, viewable in clear text. While payment was required to obtain this data, it shows the power of these kinds of platforms in potentially creating a shortcut and allowing us to obtain passwords via other means. Dehashed is also trying to position itself as a business friendly platform. So it is possible to request the removal of entries from the dehashed search results. Jesus God. I would say this is modern day blackmail. That's all that is. As a defensive measure, it is worthwhile to review and remove especially sensitive results from these lists, though you may not know if a result is sensitive. So here's the deal: we created a program that scrapes and gathers all the free information that hackers would be using. And if you want us to remove it from our site, and we make it available to everybody, the people that don't know how to get it, and if you want us to remove that, you can pay us and we'll remove it for you. What does that sound like? What world are we living in? Alright. Have I been pawned? Just because it's free and it's open source intelligence doesn't mean that. I mean, that's a gray area. I would say that website right there is a gray area where you can. I mean, I can create something since I can program, and then do something like that, and then be like, look, normally you guys wouldn't know about all this, but I'm gonna show it to you, and I'm gonna put it in this one area, and then, but if you want to pay me to get rid of your information or any information that's in here, then let me know. It's ridiculous. Have I been pawned? Dehashed and other engines may point you to collections of data that contain potential password hashes or raw data interests. However, it is often difficult to go to these collections of data, as data and even the sites hosting it change regularly. In the upcoming section, we will highlight some sites that are currently accessible and have proven helpful in the past. Many files of interest may be accessible via the deep not dark, web, namely large or compressed files or files behind a login that are not indexed or available in search engines. Again, use caution when accessing these resources further and perform appropriate digital due diligence. Oh man, you got to say that 5 times fast. Digital due diligence, digital due diligence, digital due diligence. Man, I can't even say it. Man, that's a good one. Digital due diligence. I'm gonna put that in a freaking board. Woo! Put it in my office. Some researchers that have been helpful for this work in the past include the following: DDoS secrets. I'll click on that one too. Look, my McAfee. Oh, now you guys know I use McAfee. But anyways, yeah, it doesn't want me to go in there, so I ain't gonna go in there. I don't even care. But you guys can. All right. Searching, because some of these sites they can get compromised. I mean, you know how we've been on. If you follow me for a while, you know that even in that ethical hacking book, some of those links have been compromised, right? And then it came out nationally, like, oh, this site has been compromised, and yet you still have links to it in books. I mean, because they can't change them. You know, those books are set in stone unless they do a revision. So you go click on that site, and then you're like, man, it must be safe. It's in a book, and then you override your McAfee recommendation not to go there, and boom, you hit with some kind of website tracking malware or something. All right, searching mega.ns link, formerly Twitter. So this is not that old, I guess. This is, how old is this book? Is it new? Searching mega.ns leak on X. I might have to do that one. Searching for combo lists, which are often of varied and undefined structures, but may contain useful information. Combo lists. When working with large data sets such as breach files, some utilities that might be helpful, including the following: bulk extractor, and you could go to the GitHub and download bulk extractor. Traditional utilities in Linux such as strings, grep, awk. So I like this book, okay, and I'll say it again. I like Pact. A lot of people don't like Pact. Pact don't play. Is this Pact? What page is that? OSINT. So we're almost done. Let's just finish up, and then we'll go check to see what this is. Okay. Using OSINT to obtain password candidates. It is possible, in fact, somewhat common, that reviewing breach data does not provide us with passwords we need. So we may need to resort to cracking to resort to cracking to retrieve the data we have been approved to recover. Approved to recover. Yeah, this I forgot. This is ethical. But can we use OSINT to try and make this process more likely to be successful? Absolutely. Many people will construct passwords based on things they easily remember. As we discussed in previous chapters, mandating password complexity and length can lead users to create easily memorable passwords, often resorting to using words that can be easily recalled. What kind of words are readily recalled? Things we use in everyday life, like names of our favorite sports teams, our family, our pets, our hobbies, or even words related to our occupation. I'm gonna tell you right now. I would say, I would say, probably more than 50% of women in this country or in the world probably that have to set up passwords, if they have a dog or a cat or any kind of pet that they love that's theirs, they will use that name, right? Let's talk about you have a dog named Fido or Cujo. Your dog's name is Cujo. Okay, you love that dog, you're gonna probably put Cujo 1 2 3 4 5. Okay. I mean, that's just the way the world is, and that's not even just women, but the women tend to be more, I would say, lovey-dovey with their pets. Now, don't get mad to say that. I mean, that's just the truth. My mom, my wife, my aunt, all of them, uh, their passwords are basically their damn pet's name 1 2 3. Okay, I'm not. I shit you not. This is the way the world is. Okay, men probably use some even more ridiculous, like they're just something ridiculous. Maybe if they're smart and they know cyber, they're gonna use a sentence, right? But it might be their football team, their sports team, their favorite coffee. I don't know. Something cool that they think is cool. That basically just you know something they can remember, right? Um, just the way it is. That's the way most people are. If you're reading this and are blushing because you've created passwords in the past, yeah, oh yeah, with using these kind of words, don't be embarrassed. We all have done it. But since your job here is to crack passwords, let's collect the relevant information on the target and worry about changing our passwords later. This information can help us create a word list that increases the likelihood we can crack the passwords of our target. Now, this is assuming we have a target, right? To start, we use the typical search engines and social media sites to obtain information about the interests, family, and work habits in our target. Now, this is why I like this book already, because you're thinking that that's common sense, and it is. It is common sense, but hopefully they're going to give me the tools to and show me how to get the tools. I mean, use the right tools in Linux, Kali, Linux, or whatever, to and then actually try to get a list together. And me and you guys could do a quick reconnaissance on a fake person, right? As you work through the following examples, bear in mind that these are not exhaustive lists. When working through these, note any words that are non-standard, industrial terms, proper nouns, etc., and make sure to record these somewhere, possibly in an electronic file. Well, let me reread this. I didn't understand it. As you work through the following examples, bear in mind these are not an exhaustive list. And when working through these, note any words that are non-standard, industrial terms. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And make sure to record these somewhere, possibly in an electronic text file. These will be useful to roll into a word list later. Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right. I like that. To research the work history of an individual, we might start with LinkedIn. I really like this book. I like books that give you like a starting point, and then go work from here. That way you can start there, follow the instructions, and then you can just add your own stuff in there in between. We might start with LinkedIn. So literally I would take this and I would start with LinkedIn on my target, right? Because the book says to. So I'm going to follow the book, which often contain information about a person's job history, right? Interest, research work, previous companies, and much more. That's why I say never. People that are on LinkedIn, you got to go. They have a security section that you can tinker with, and you should do that. Some basic examples in real world situations the author has observed include the following: name of the company the target worked at, key terms of the target's area of study, cities the target worked in, terms associated with research worked by the target, terms associated with the target's job. For example, a scrum master, stand up, point, backlog, etc. These will require a basic understanding of their occupation, but are worth it. After that, it may be worth reviewing other social media accounts that are less work related. Many users construct their passwords based on a word, in accordance with their password policies. The question then becomes, what is the word? The bird. Sorry. As noted above, it can be work related, but it can also commonly be related to the family, home, or other things near and dear to the hearts of the target. For this, we should return to more traditional social media sites such as Instagram, Facebook, and X, formerly Twitter. So this is relatively new. Among others, search based on targets' account names, often email addresses or username reused across many platforms. From here, work through each account and determine what you can about the target's interest, family members, and more. While this will often require an account on the target application for best success, make note of the catalog of your findings. Some examples include the following: family members' names, not just immediate family, remember grandparents, etc. Yeah, they might love their grandparents. So you have to social engineer this. Okay? This is what this is talking about. You if you have, let's say you have a target, you are going to figure that target out. There's no other word. All this stuff that it's giving you examples that it's saying, oh, okay, yeah, this and that, that and this, check that, and it's giving you all the resources. It's basically saying you need to figure out your target. That's it. I love that word "figure out" because we use it in the technician terms. I'm an electrical engineering technician, so what I do is I figure everything out. I figure out why the system's not working. I figure out who wired it up wrong. I figure out what's going on. I gotta go talk to people and figure out what happened, why it's broke, who was the last one touching it. So you're constantly figuring things out. This is the same way. You're figuring out your target. Now, when you figure out your target, you're gonna take into consideration all factors of human beings. You're gonna use your experience from talking to different types of human beings for many years. You're gonna try to figure out what type of human being that is. Now, if you're targeting, let's say, an individual human being, yes, that's what you're gonna do. If you're targeting a company, it's different. But if you're targeting a human being and then you're looking at and they don't have anything, like they don't have a LinkedIn, a Facebook, then obviously this ain't gonna work, right? Because you're gonna have to find other ways to get information, which I'm not gonna go into that. But let's assume that they have an Instagram, a Facebook, a LinkedIn, all that stuff, an X, and you're going across all their platforms. You need to figure out who they are. Now, if they're posting a lot of stuff about horticulture, then you know that they're horticulturalists, and you can enter in a bunch of plant names in your list and stuff like that. If they're always with their grandma, eating lunch, I love my Grammy, I love my mammy. You might put down mammy, right? Mammy 1, 2, 3. Stuff like that. Oh man, I love Wu Tang. Man, it's my favorite band. You might put down Wu Tang Clan, right? And I can guarantee you, the more information you grab and the bigger that list gets, you're gonna do probably about a month research, 2 months research, 3 months research on it, right? You'll hit something, okay? So that's why it's saying pet names, hobbies, sports teams, hometown, mother's maiden name. You're trying to get all this information, which is you're doing due diligence, right? You're doing your digital due diligence of this target. As a general rule, if a target is willing to talk about a specific person, place, or thing in social media, note as it is a possible password. That is just gold right here. This chapter is gold. Now, because everybody thinks there's a magic tool, or there's a magic way to do all this, right? Like it's magic or something. Hey, you know, let's 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 do this and it's magic. It's not magic, man. It's it's more of tinkering. You need to tinker with this stuff. You need to go in and investigate. You need to figure out things. You need to be creative. You need to put it all together. I was listening to Darknet Diaries and Jack Raysider's channel, and he was interviewing this guy that was on like a hacking elite hacking squad for the government. I can't remember, and they were attacking these terrorists in Iran, I guess, or somewhere. I can't remember. But the bottom line was, one of the guys on our side, on our hacking side, um, hacked into this guy's phone or account or something by using a password that he reused across devices. And he did it quick, and then they said, damn, how'd you do that? And he says, this guy loves the number 15 and this group, right? He loves the number 15 in this group. So how the hell did you know that? It's because he did his due diligence on that target. It's not a game. Now, did he get that from social media and all that? Probably not. In this kind of group, they're probably listening to their conversations and writing down stuff. Right now, it's getting covert and stuff. But what he's doing is he's getting these interests of this human being, and he's listening to his phone calls, and he's probably following them in line. I mean, this is some way out stuff, right? This is covert military action, right? And or whatever, he might have just checked his social media and all that too, and all that. But it doesn't matter. Either way, he knew that, and he hacked his phone because he knew he liked the number 15 and some like organization. I don't know. I can't remember. But it's an interesting story, right? But so these are the real. This is the real deal. Like, I like this book. It's teaching you how to figure things out, how to think about a target, not to think that, oh, it's magic. You're gonna go get a just use a password cracking or hash, cracking. You need to know all that stuff too. But it's not that you need to know what information to make it that easier, right? So this is what this is going over. We're gathering information to create a list to try to hack and crack passwords on individual targets. In this chapter, we discuss using OSINT to potentially identify passwords from previous breaches, to save the time identifying and cracking an available password again. However, this approach is not always fruitful. So if we discuss obtaining password candidates from other sources as well, using the information before leveraging cracking can significantly reduce the time and effort required. Significantly, right? So that in that story I told, Jack Raysider story, or Darknet Diary story, whatever, he cracked his password basically in like 20 minutes, because he probably already had a list on standby, and he just ran that list, right, against his phone or whatever the hell he was doing, right. So now, after setting up a cracking environment, we need to create appropriate word lists and rules. See, and this is what I was talking about. Appropriate word lists and rules to use in our various cracking initiatives throughout part 2. This will be covered in more detail in chapter 3 and 4, and we will discuss the installation of John the Ripper and Hashcat and their associated rules and uses. I really, really like this book. Now, so far. Now, I've been let down before, and so this book might go into like the tools, might be heavily theory, which is fine, because you can find another book that's got heavily technical, that's light theory, and you're like, well, what the hell? I want to know more about this. So you can grab a book that's heavily theory. Like, I think this is more heavily theory. So a book like this has got more theory in it, and then you can go and make it better with a book that's more technical, right? But hopefully, I mean, I'm just hoping that I found a diamond in the rough, and that this book will go be like equal parts theory and equal parts technical, right? So, that was Hack the File. I really enjoyed this video. I learned. I didn't. Well, here's the thing. Okay, when you relearn something that you already knew, you're still learning a lot, right? Remember that, okay? Because this is facts. You don't learn something by learning it once and then not going back over it, right? You learn something by constantly going over it over and over and over again. That's how you learn something, right? The greatest programs that in school are like, are programs that are constantly having you do the same thing over and over again, because that means you're ready to hit the field as soon as you graduate. And they're usually two-year degrees. I love them. Like I'm teaching a 2 year technical degree right now in electrical. And by the time these guys graduate from this 2 year degree, they're going to hit that field. They're going to be ready because all they're doing is building and building and building and doing calculations and calculations of circuits and electrical components, right? So when you repeatedly go over something, you learn something, right? So I've learned about this. This is about the, I would say, the 10th time I have gone over OSINT and OSINT stuff, and it's great. I don't care. Every time, the more and more I go over it, the more and more I will understand it. So if somebody asks me, well, what you know about OSINT, I can tell them, like, confidently, I know this and I know that because I've gone over it a bunch of times, right? So I learned something in this book, and you have to remember too, all these books are going over the same knowledge constantly, right? So that's the whole point of cybersecurity. This is our field. If you're getting into cybersecurity, this is our field. We need to own it. We need to understand it, and we need to know it. This is our field. We need to know the technical terms. We need to know how things work. We need to know as much as we can, right? And I'm really enjoying this book so far. I just hopefully I stay enjoying it. So we'll see. All right, that was Hack the File, and I hope you enjoyed. I'm so glad to be back. I'm going to be finishing up the ethical hacking book, and we're almost done with it. Right, I might skip some stuff just to get it done. Um, this is getting really technical towards the end, and we've gotten stuff to work. I mean, this has been a great series to learn from. Okay, and hopefully you guys realize that, right? When you see me struggling, you see me getting through this book, and I'm dealing with deprecated stuff, and then and all this stuff on my VM, and like this pip3 install LDAP3. It took me like 4 hours of research to get this to finally install. But I did. I figured it out. So I'm going to try to get through this. I want to get through Kuberos, right? Because I'm really excited to learn about it. I don't even know. I don't know what it is other than the basic research I did on it. So once we finish this, we're gonna go through. I'm gonna make a video and we're gonna talk about all the stuff we learned. Okay, and we're almost done. This has been a year, almost 2 years, and we only got two more chapters. I mean, not even two more chapters, two more sections, right? One more video, I should be done, unless I get hanged up on something that doesn't work. But I don't want to short this. I want to go through it, and then we have the next steps, which is small, right? So, um, I'm gonna be happy when I'm done with this book, and I can tell you we'll go through and talk about all the stuff we learned. And I learned a tremendous amount of knowledge from this book. So I can't wait to finish it up, and we'll go from there. All right. So I was Hack the File. I hope you guys learned something and have fun. I'll see you next time.